got a bit of a tickly cough, sore throat thing. I think you've got the same, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's that time of year. It's time to have our little COVID roundup.
Yep.
And top tip, if you've got the stupid, annoying, tickly cough thing, Vicks Vapor Rub on your neck, rather lather it on rather than be sparing. It's really good. It changed my life. So I was
always
going
wash your
mad
hands after you've done that.
Don't touch any sensitive parts.
Of you or your life partner.
Yes.
Resistance is futile.
Welcome to the podcast,
where we explore what's happening with AI, business, automation and culture, and ask,
where on earth is all this going? All right, a few things that have been happening lately that we wanted to talk about. This is mostly going to be a chat about Jamie's amazing tips for tools in business that you can use with AI. I have a few, but Jamie's ones are, well, frankly, they're superior because this is what he does for a living. So, but among the news, I noticed there was a Mecha and Azzy human-like robots. Have you seen these two robots? And
no, I've not seen these two. No.
So Azzy is actually the famous one. As soon as you see an image of her, it's the one by the English lab where she's kind of like a grey-faced robot, very lifelike.
Okay. Yeah.
And has all the facial expressions. Yeah. And well, they had a male version called Amica, and a kind of semi-viral clip of them chatting went up, which was of them just kind of interacting and talking. He sort of woke her up from a slumber, and she was annoyed. Okay. And everyone was like, amazing.
Sounds like
how lifelike.
Life. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. It was like, evolution's already done this. We don't need to see men and women annoyed with each other. That's that. We've solved that one.
So sorted. Yeah, we got that one.
So there was that. We had James Cameron on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah.
Espousing exactly what the real Skynet will look and sound like. It was utterly terrifying. Let's play that clip now.
In any case, AGI will not emerge from a government-funded program. It will emerge from one of the tech giants currently funding this multi-billion-dollar research. So then you'll be living in a world that you didn't agree to, didn't vote for, that you are co-inhabiting with a super-intelligent alien species that answers to the goals and rules of a corporation, an entity which has access to the comms, beliefs, everything you ever said, and the whereabouts of every person in the country via your personal data. Surveillance capitalism can toggle pretty quickly into digital totalitarianism. At best, these tech giants become the self-appointed arbiters of human good, which is the fox guarding the henhouse. They would never, ever think of using that power against us and strip mining us for our last drop of cash. That's a scarier scenario than what I presented in the Terminator 40 years ago, if for no other reason than it's no longer science fiction.
Of all the people to talk about it.
Yeah, but also, he's just joined the board on an AI company that does video production and filming, I think.
Maybe it's a marketing ploy then. I mean, honestly, I think he's sincere, and this is my fear, because this is the kind of scenario that I wrote about in my book. It's not exactly the way I think the problem will emerge. However, to some degree, large corporations and governments, and maybe a mix, will end up in this sort of scenario potentially, and that we should have at least a fail-safe option to get people to be able to withdraw from it, and that's what we haven't got at the moment. I fear.
Yeah, extract yourself from the matrix.
You should be able to. It's utterly unethical that we could end up in that sort of scenario without any backup, because you can't just have a one-way street with this, where the largest, most powerful, organizations on Earth simply have final say. I'm on Substack now that I've left Twitter because
this is big news, I think. So I think we should just pause for a moment. Dave has left Twitter.
Literally no one cares. But I left Twitter. I mean, there was always going to be a boundary with Musk, and there's plenty of times that I've thought, okay, well, it's a platform. He happens to own it. I'm just muting him, and I'll carry on as usual. But the whole thing with the buying of voters in the States with a lottery the founding fathers would
you're
not
frozen.
tolerate that. They would say that's clearly manipulation and trying to buy votes. And it was more the fact that whether or not other people do anything similar doesn't matter. I wouldn't be on their platform either. So the whole thing with the Labour trying to interfere with, well, if Labour had a social media platform, I wouldn't be on it either if they owned it. So it was more, look, he doesn't have any respect for democracy at all, or he doesn't know what it is. Either are bad if you're having that amount of influence. So I was like, right, I'm done. I'm out. So I'm on Substack now. I was always on Substack.
I've never understood Substack. I don't really quite got what it is.
Oh, Substack's
Is
brilliant,
it geeky?
I think.
It sounds like a geeky kind of thing.
It started as a newsletter writing platform, so it's for writers, and so you would publish these long form articles, and it was a built-in platform as well for sharing them. And so you can write newsletters, and you've kind of got an audience potentially there, which makes it quite clever. But it's morphed into more of a full-on publishing platform. So now I've got pretty much a website on Substack that has my kind of other life, as it were, outside of Business Film Booth, which is writing. And so on there, you can write your articles and publish them. I put up the podcast on there as well. I've got the YouTube channel linked to it. And so there's all these layers to it now, which are quite clever. But the nice thing about it is how well it's curated. You can't really mess with it too much. It just works and looks good and is easy to navigate. Do I think it's clever?
I started playing with because I deleted Facebook, Twitter, and Twitter off my phone.
Wise.
Just because I was just I found myself using it too much.
Yeah.
Immediately, my total usage of my phone dropped by 2 hours per day. I mean, that tells you a lot. But then I found I still had Reddit, and I never really went to buy it. So now I don't have Facebook and Twitter. I thought, I'll go on Reddit. I quite like Reddit. I quite enjoy that. Yeah, so it sounds maybe similar kind of thing, like nice people.
Oh yeah, no, it's if you've got a brain, I think it's great. And look, there's some brilliant people on Twitter, and I think that's what's annoying, is it's very hard to probably over time for many of these platforms to avoid them becoming, messy or hard to curate as an individual. So maybe that's the fate of Substack at some point. But Substack has a section or a main platform, a home page that works very much like Twitter. So, and that's called Notes. And so the Notes section is just a feed, and it's really good. So once you sign up to people's newsletters, then you're going to see them more in your feed. But not only that, you can just follow people, so you don't have to subscribe to everything. So the James Cameron thing was just a question of, I'm presuming he's sincere. Is that really what a problem scenario will be? And I would tend to agree with him, but I would tend to lump in governments with that as well in terms of surveillance and using the same technology that they just use buyback from the big corporations. So we should have a third space between them, as my basic premise, that is totally free from them all, and that needs we need to work out then how to fund that, of course, but there needs to be a safety space. In the old days, it was the original internet before, which was totally free, before it got walled garden like, and maybe there's an argument for a version of that again. So anyway, let's talk about some business tools then. One that's come out it's probably more than a couple of weeks ago now, but nonetheless it is extraordinary, is NotebookLM. Have you tried this?
I love NotebookLM. So I'm not a massive Google fan, but so just for the audience, NotebookLM is a kind of an experiment by Google's AI team to allow you to use a little bit like OneNote. If you ever use OneNote, it's like a notebook. You can paste stuff in, you can upload files, you put links to YouTube videos or whatever. And what it does is then allows you to kind of chat with that content. So you could upload all the manuals of a particular device, and then you can ask it questions about that. So it's kind of what you can do with ChatGPT and some of these other tools that are out there, but it does it, that does that very well. But the killer app, which kind of got out in the wild, like you said, a couple of weeks ago, is the podcast part of it. So when you go into NotebookLM, you upload something, and then you can tell it to create an audio version of it. And my God, it's nearly as good as you and me, Dave. It's two Americans It's
They're coming for our middle class white guy jobs. I mean,
yeah,
no one
yeah.
said that was going to happen.
No,
and they're taking over
exactly.
of all the things, taking over our podcasts. Can they
But
go
you
after
basically
something else?
you got this American guy and American woman, all AI, and they always start with it. Hey Dave, let's do a deep dive. They love the word deep dive, so they're always going to do a deep dive, and then they have a conversation just like you and I are. And honestly, I listen to a fair amount of podcasts. You would never ever know this was AI, apart from you get a little bloopery kind of like sound thing. But
occasionally, it was pretty good. I was very impressed. In fact, now we're starting to sound at the level that they're at. You know, the kind of back and forth. I was really impressed with that. In fact, it's kind of worrying because it was almost like, what's the point of creatively making any kind of new format if all that's going to happen is it's going to get AI-ified, and we're back to...
Well, I think it depends. It's been interesting how I've used it. So I have used it for understanding something. So we have some technical stuff that I get sent every so often that I don't understand, kind of oddly, because I'm in a technical business, but I don't understand it at all. And I don't want to look stupid in the meetings. So I put it all in there, and we did a deep dive. We did a deep dive on this particular technical thing. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I was in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago.
They then stopped talking to you because now they just use NotebookLM.
That's right. But I was giving a talk in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, and it was a big topic, and there was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. So I basically dumped all of my notes into it, and then said, just had to listen to it. So that was good. And then the final thing that I did that was really, really good was I keep... It's not a journal, but I plan out my businesses the next 5 years, next year, quarter, things like that. And I do it for my two businesses, and I do it for my personal life. Everything's planned out, Dave. I know everything that's going to happen, and it's just in a kind of tabular OneNote format. Nothing, it's got numbers and it's got letters, everything. I put it in there. Oops, it was really good. It sounded like I knew what I was doing. It sounded like I had a plan.
Do you ever look back at the last 5 years and go, oh yeah, that plan worked? Or not?
No, what? Okay, I'm going to tell you this, right?
Okay.
No, so don't get me on this, because this is my favourite topic, right? So, based on a book called Traction, they have this thing called EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and there's a lot of stuff, but the main thing is this kind of planning, kind of long term, bringing it back to short term. And here's the crazy thing: I always every quarter do my next 90 days, the things I want to achieve in business and personally in the next 90 days, and then sometimes I forget about it. I don't look at it again, but when I come back in a quarter, I'd say on average, 75 to 80% of the things that I wanted, I can cross out and done.
Yeah, I find the same. I mean, I'm probably not as structured as you, but I do put them down periodically, and then I just don't have it every 90 days or something. But I do whenever I feel like I just haven't got enough structure and really not thinking about what's happening. I'll go and do it. I'll do that exercise, and I'm the same. I'm like, I don't magically that stuff happens. Yeah. Because I guess your subconscious is just expecting it in some way.
It's like if you're buying a red car, all of a sudden you see red cars. It's that kind of. It's basically, and I'm sure you've read it, and it's probably up there with your book and some other great books that I've read, which is of course The Secret.
Well done. Yeah. Oh no, don't start on The Secret.
It's The Secret. It's what it is.
Oh come on! Look,
manifesting, my friend.
I'm fine with the concept of manifesting. I don't have a problem with that. It's the fact that The Secret, because it came out when I used to work in sales. This is back in my other life. It's about 15 years ago, and all the management and all the sales staff, everyone got into it. Like, we can manifest any sales figure we want, basically. And the book was like that as well. It was like, look, here you can manifest any material crap that you don't actually need. What's the thing that you actually want in your life that's really constructive? It'll be fine. But the book seemed to be geared at, here, we can make this Mercedes turn up in your driveway in 6 months. That's not the point of manifesting. Anyway, no.
Okay. I've been doing it all wrong.
You might get a Mercedes as a byproduct of doing something valuable, but I just thought it sounded mercenary, to be honest with you.
I manifested this podcast.
You did not. I manifested this podcast.
NotebookLM manifested this podcast.
I'd like you to manifest the editing that's done after it. That's for sure.
Okay.
But, yeah. So all right. Well, that's
So Brilliant tool. I would say
Brilliant
to
tool.
anyone, you can register for free. Just have a play with it. It really is very good. It's frustrating you can't change the accents or the people and things like that. But honestly, I was thinking about this like studying. You know, if you're at college and you've got a whole load of notes, you need to learn something. If you're an relatively is it audible or whatever
Oral.
no, that's speaking, isn't it? If
No,
you're,
that's oral. Oral.
oh, I couldn't tell from your accent.
Well, we would get ChatGPT doing a Kiwi accent. It's probably better than mine. No, it's terrible. And that's the one thing that ChatGPT can't do yet. So if we were stuck with we're not sure if it's Skynet or not, ask it to talk in a Kiwi accent, and all right, busted and blow it up. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
but it's
All
a
right.
good way. It's a good way to learn something or understand something. So I highly recommend that as a tool.
Very good. All right, so there was that's NotebookLM, easy to find. Just
Yep.
Google that. And there was another couple of tools we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Okay, so the one that's probably the most accessible, that is the most impressive, is a tool called HeyGen. That's HeyGen.
This is amazing.
It is brilliant. So when I do talks, right, I do an example because my wife, English isn't her first language, it's Portuguese, and all her family, no one speaks English. So I recorded a little video of me sending a message to her family in Brazil, and then it's got the same message, but I'm speaking fluent Portuguese. My lips move the same way as it's me doing it. And it's dead easy. So I've had clients that we've done videos for. You and I have done a video for saying, could we have it in German or French? And honestly, I think it's $29 a month, something like that for the basic package. You just in fact, you don't even need to upload it. If it's YouTube, you link to the YouTube video, and half an hour later, it will tell you it's ready. You download it, and it's multiple people lip syncing. It looks like they're speaking the language. And the very latest version will now, if there's text in the background, a sign, or they're showing a demonstration of something, it will look at the text on it. It will understand the font, and then translate it so it looks exactly the same, but in the language that you translated to.
It is utterly incredible. Having seen it, and having seen versions of that maybe a year ago when they were sort of trying to do that, it was all a bit hokey.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, it's incredible. And it almost, for seeing you speak in Portuguese, it was like almost like it's like sliding doors. Jamie in another life where he's Portuguese. It's that
The
good.
kind of vest on, and the kind of
Little French tickler.
that's it.
And it was just, it really is totally like one of those moments where you go, okay, the technology really is moving on. This is not
So
a
my
farce.
prediction, which I often make when I'm talking to people about this, is I reckon within 6 to 12 months, that technology will be live, and it will be when you're doing your Teams video calls, or even this. We can have an entire episode in another language.
That
I think
would be
that's
funny.
happening.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, great.
We can
And
dress
even made
up
up languages.
in
What about
themes.
in Elvish? I want to speak in Elvish, and you can speak in I don't know, what was in Orc.
Oh, yes.
Now,
So, yeah,
that's
that
a
is a
podcast that no one will show up for.
Yeah, but that I think, go and have a play with it. I think there's a free version you can do, like 30 seconds of video or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really, really good and very accessible, very easy to use, and that's I've told a lot of people about that. That's very good.
And was there another one they had up your sleeve?
Well, there's some big things happening.
Yeah.
So the biggest news that's kind of broken in the last 48 hours is by a company called Anthropic. So everyone talks about OpenAI and ChatGPT and things like that, but Anthropic, who have a product called Claude, and Claude has really been doing some quite cool stuff. So a few weeks ago they had, I went and played with it. So you could basically go in and say, I'd really like an app that's a little bit like Spotify, that can do the same thing. And it opens up this other window and says, okay, fine, I'll make it. And then you watch it coding and encoding, blah, 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 like this, and then it literally creates the app there, and you can kind of play with it. So that's cool. But what they've released, which is breaking the internet, is this kind of computer control element. So what that means is that you can have it running. I haven't done it yet, because it literally only got released a couple of days ago. But basically, you install it so it runs locally on your machine. and you can talk to it and tell it to do things on the computer. And effectively what it does is it takes a screenshot, decides what to do, and then kind of takes action on doing it. So you could say, let's say I've got an email and it tells me I need to go onto a website and buy a certain product. So you could say, I want you to read this email and buy the product that it tells me to buy. And you'll see it running through, and you'll see it will open up your Outlook, it will go to your email, it will read it, understand it, and say, right, it said Amazon, so I'm going to go onto Amazon now. You then see it go to Chrome, open up Chrome, type in Amazon, go, and there's many iterations. There was one as well where someone was programming with it. So they said, I'd like you to program this particular type. Oh, that was it. They wanted it to basically extract data from an invoice and put it into a spreadsheet. Now, I didn't do it perfectly, but I mean, this is
so the big change you see in that is, and I've seen it, so I recognise why it's remarkable, but just to make it clear to the audience, the difference between that and say just, saving you a little bit of input where you might have to go and input all these different things. What's the big step change for you?
It's not just about the input. It's just I think what we're all, I don't know if you find this, but let's say you're driving along. So this is just an example that I find frustrating. I'm driving along and I want to send a WhatsApp message to you, let's say, right?
Oh, yeah,
okay. Hands off the steering wheel.
Yeah.
I want to go send a
going.
WhatsApp to Dave telling him he's an idiot, right? That's what I want to do.
Hey, Siri, can you really stuff up some instructions? Yes, I can do that.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. But for it to work. But and nothing's yet.
Siri, I didn't catch that. No, go away.
So this is this concept of agentic. So you have these agents that work on your behalf, and really we're getting to the point where those agents can understand your computer and the applications, and you'll have different ones that can do different things. So kind of in parallel with Claude and Anthropic doing this, there was a big announcement from the CEO of Microsoft a few days ago as well, which is something called agentic copilots. So at the moment, Copilot's this useful thing you can go and track back on your Teams call and ask it to tell me to summarize it and action points, or you can get it to start producing your Word or your PowerPoint and stuff like that. Now you're going to be able to say, every Monday I want you to go into my email. If there's an email from Dave, reply to it and tell him he's an idiot, that kind of thing, and it will just go and you can do this.
But wouldn't you get so much more pleasure doing that yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
But anyway,
yeah.
I digress.
But it's interesting because in my world of automation and AI, a lot of the things that they're kind of describing is kind of the stuff that we do. And what I think, and I guess there's a concern in the community of people that do the kind of business that we do. Oh, great! Now AI is coming for us to do even the bit that we're doing. I'm not sure that will happen because in the same way that we can all do our own videos now, actually, if I want something professionally done and I don't know how to do it properly and I want to do this, I could probably try and do it myself, but it will be rubbish. So I come to you and you do it, and you do it professionally with all your know-how and expertise. So I think it's going to be similar to that.
I think so. And the tools, to give you an example of my world, where it's possible now to make what you think is a really slick-looking, high-end digital agency ad for TV at the click of a prompt, is actually and I think for a long time will be a series of very precise prompts that are then manipulated using editing software as well. Yeah. So although there's, so I'll give you an example. It's possible now to easily make a copy, say, of my voice or a voice artist, right? And then you've got that voice forever, and you can just write up a copy on screen with the script
basically. Yeah,
we'll do that, and away you go. Except you got to put in some certain collection of words that's unusual, like a product name or an acronym, and it can't pronounce it. Well, what are you going to do then? You got to then go and hire the voice artist. But that seems like a small problem, but it only takes 1% of the copy to be a problem like that, and suddenly you're creatively compromised. And you have to then either go and get the voice artist or find some way around it. And that across a lot of different creative layers causes the reason why people are sticking with creatives. So it's just or in the case of your world, sticking with the professionals who know those sort of pratfalls. So I don't, I'm not I'm still not, to be honest, particularly worried. My world hasn't changed very much at all. I think what's happening is there's the ability to help with certain things quicker. I'll tell you what is happening. When I'm able to do previs stuff with people before they spend money a lot easier now, where I can say, look,
previs,
like a mock-up, like here's a vague idea of what's going to look like, or here's some of the problems I see with the creative brief as it is, and here's my solution, and it's easier for people to then see that. Now in the past, that would take a lot of work, and you have to charge for it, or not do it, and just say, look, trust me, and that's then it's easier, I think, for people to come on board. So. And that's, at least in my creative world, what's happening is the tools at the moment are being used to, just in ways that make the whole process simpler, but not necessarily cheaper, but probably just a bit simpler for everybody to do it quicker.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think, look, things are going to change, and I think it's like anything, a lot of these tools allow you to do a lot more stuff yourself. I always think it's kind of ironic that, in the world where technology is meant to save us and allow us to do less, actually in many ways it doesn't, because it just becomes the onus on you to do the things to create the situation where you might be doing less. And most people haven't got the time to do that. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange dichotomy.
It's a strange dichotomy. At face value, the idea of creating the most labour-saving tools in history by a long stretch, if that doesn't mean a reduction in working time, there's something wrong with the way we've set up our system. That's certainly a question we should always be asking ourselves. I don't have any doubt that we've set it up so that we've created a work environment or a work ethic that may be toxic, because we've got to be able to extract ourselves and do more creative things that might not have commercial value in the first instance, but might over a long period of time, if enough of us do them, that would be better for us, frankly, as well as eventually the economy. But we don't structure things like that. We've still got an old system that says everyone needs to work in this framework, and that's the only way things go together. And that's a problem we're going to have to grapple with, because even the gung-ho, Tony Robbins-esque, alpha entrepreneurs are going to come up against the fact that a lot of the stuff that they are talking about, there will be a solution for that in 5 minutes if someone wants it, that they don't need to be involved. Whereas in the past, we really needed them. So I think that's going to be interesting for that culture. If they, there'll always be something new to really go for. Maybe we need to send them all into outer space. That would be to strive in outer space for us.
Go on, go strive somewhere else.
Go strive. I'm poking fun. There are very good reasons to go into space. I'm not going to pretend that I'm against that, but but nonetheless, I think the striving culture is going to struggle if we do create tools that
the side hustle,
the side hustle culture.
Dave. You're not hustling enough, Dave.
I'm definitely not hustling enough. I think that on its own is toxic. If you're just if you're doing that for a certain goal, and then that's fine, I've reached that goal, and then you get onto things that are not just for a bit of extra cash on the side. Otherwise, people that work ridiculously hard for 20 or 30 years, how come there's not a prize at the end of that? It's automatically in an economy with this level of automation and tools available for labour saving, we should be able to get what we need and be done in a certain amount of time, and then do whatever. It doesn't have to be commercial anymore. But we don't really talk about that in an adult way. We just talk about the endless work ethic, and that's a problem.
Yes.
But anyway,
back to work, Dave. Please.
Yeah, back to work. Sorry. So that, I think that was what I wanted to cover today. Is there, but I'm aware that we're not hitting like a big single subject. But I just wanted to just look at the tools that are really good for business people that often listen, just so that they don't think we haven't forgotten about the stuff they come for, which is what's going on in the business world. So, but I do want to get Steve Keen on the podcast. I'll need to ask him again about that and tee that up next. But who would you, in a fantasy football type way, who would you like to have on the podcast next? And I want you to think big.
Musk.
Okay, I'll do what I can. I knew you were going to say Musk. Especially after what I just said. I literally, probably the last person I really want to talk to at the moment.
We can ask him about his chopsticks. We could. The landing.
So this is the really annoying thing. I know, he's utterly brilliant. Utterly brilliant. And it's not like I want him to shut up about his politics. That's fine. Everyone's welcome to it. But it was just on the right, dude, you really don't understand democracy and you're being dangerous now. That just really pissed me off. So, it's a constant dichotomy with him. I have to have these two spheres of respect and disrespect. He's a political child and but an engineering leader. So what can you do?
No, absolutely. Well, we'll see. I'll think of someone that we can get in case we can't get him, in case he's busy.
In case he's busy, which is possible. I mean, he's doing a few things at the moment. Probably got a lot on his plate. Yeah. But all right, very good. All right, Jamie, let's leave it there.
Oh, can I give a little plug?
No, I'm afraid we've run out of time.
Okay. All right.
Go on then. Yeah.
I've set up. So I live in St Albans in Hertfordshire, and I have set up the St Albans Automation and AI Forum, where both humans and robots are welcome. And we're getting a bit of traction. And the idea is we're going to meet up once a month or so in a pub and just chat about, and it's not just people who are AI-ish and technical and things like that, all walks of life. And we're going to talk about it like a forum, like they did in Greece.
So instead of artificial intelligence, it'll be actual intelligence.
Actual intelligence.
Is that what it's called? Actual intelligence meetup.
Yeah. I don't know. I got ChatGPT to call it something. So it's fine.
Of course you did. All right. Well, more on that another time. Good to chat with you as always.
As always.
Cheers, Jamie. Talk soon. Take care.
Bye.
Resistance.